Originally a force in just its home country of Spain, Iberdrola has become a major player in the power industry on both sides of the Atlantic. Now also supplying markets in the UK, United States, Portugal and Latin America, the company specializes in clean energy. It's been a heavy investor in wind farms since the start of the renewables boom more than a decade ago, and also owns hydroelectric, fossil fuel and nuclear power generation facilities worldwide. Now, as the market continues to move towards cleaner energy, has Iberdrola managed to position itself to take advantage, or are competitors catching up? Well, the company's CEO and chairman, Ignacio Galan, joins us now for an exclusive conversation. Mr. Galan, always a pleasure to host you here. I've been looking forward to this interview all week, so thank you so much for coming on.
I'm very pleased, and congratulations for such a magnificent building.
Yeah, we're lucky.
I think I heard that you have already as well succeeded in getting the LEED Platinum certificate, which I think we know how difficult it is, because we had our building, our headquarters in Bilbao. We got it as well 3 years ago. And we know that it's not an easy thing. So congratulations, it's absolutely magnificent.
Thank you. I mean, it is one of the most sustainable office buildings in the world, and this is one of your specialties. You work a lot in renewables. You've been doing so for 10 years, but some of your rivals have actually been catching up. Is there a section of the market where you feel more vulnerable because competition has increased?
Well, I think it's not 10 years, it's almost 20 years. So I think it's 20 years ago we took seriously Kyoto. We thought then the world have to change the trend of how we are emitting, and we decided to invest heavily in renewables. We decided to close most of our fossil fuels power plant. The fact at the moment only remain less than 1% is produced with coal, and we decided to close the 2 remaining coal power plants we decided to close. And the result is, after this one, our emission has been diminished by 75% in the period. And that has not been bad for the company. Has been really very good. I think we are 5 times bigger than we were. Yeah. We are one of the largest European, one of the 2 largest European utilities, one of the 5th largest worldwide. And that has been good for shareholders, has been good for the environment. So sustainability is a good business. It's not a bad business.
But you were one of the pioneers, but then you have a lot of your rivals now also getting in on the game. So where do you feel the heat?
Well, I think the world is, fortunately, and we saw that in Paris, now the 195 countries has already signed that agreed that the problem exists, and agreed to take the necessary measures to modify the trend. That is something that 20 years ago, when we started with that one, was a dream. So now it's a reality. As I mentioned a few weeks ago in another interview, it's time to move from words to fact. And the world is moving in this direction. So I think today the FERC, United States FERC, is already saying that is supporting renewables, supporting what is done, and opposing to continue subsidizing fossil fuels. So that is a good thing. So today in Germany has already agreed, or they reached a certain agreement between the 2 leaders, Mr. Schulz and Mrs. Merkel, about the not putting in doubt what have to be done. Is they agreed to continue doing things, and they said, okay, perhaps the ambition are too much. But I think the ambition is they were looking for 40% reduction by 2020, saying toward the rest of European, we are talking 20%. So they were 40, they were doubling that one. Said, well, we continue with this trend, but probably we will do our best, but probably instead of 2020, we will move up to 2025, but 40%. And for 2030 to look for up to 50%, which I think that means the world is moving in this direction.
Right.
I think that's
but so what does it mean for your investment? Right? So it must change the way you invest.
That is going precisely to this point. That means precisely that in this moment, the trend of changing how the thing is being done is there. So the electrification of the economy is becoming a fact. So the electricity demand worldwide is going to increase, according with the data of the International Energy Agency, by 70% in the next 25 years. So it means in 25 years we need to make as much power generation as we have been making in the last century. So it means the thing is, so it's room for everybody. It's room for all technologies, but what we need to change the trend. And behind this power is the need of grid and networks for delivering this energy which is required. I think the electrification of the transport is going to be a fact. the electrification of the heating is going to be a fact. And the production of electricity with renewable sources is becoming a fact. Is room for everybody.
How do you store it? So some people believe in batteries, right? I don't think you do. You prefer pumped hydro.
So, you know, when I finished the university, I was working for almost 70 years in batteries. So I think I can say I'm a battery man. So I cannot go against my rod. So I've been for 17 years designing, manufacturing, selling stationary batteries for precisely storing energy, for providing certainty, security, supply, etc., etc. So I'm not opposed to batteries. I think batteries, they will play the role, but I think the massive storage today with existing batteries technology, they are much cheaper and efficient solution. And one of these cheaper and efficient solutions is to use the existing hydropower plants to transform in reversible for making already using the generators as pumps and pumps and generators depending on the circumstances. You can pump water when there is excess of electricity in the system, and you can already generate electricity when it is needed from the upward dam.
So how much investment are you putting in that sort of storage?
So I think in this moment in storage, we are the largest in Europe. We are almost 5,000 megawatts of storage, pumping storage. We are building another 3 more in Portugal in this moment in the Tâmega River in the north. So with an investment on the range of 1.8 billion euros. And with that, we have capacity now for the almost 5 million homes, okay. So which I think is a huge one. But I think batteries, they will play the role, but not using that one in the garage, but using that one inside of the grid. So as part of the grid to provide already certainty and security in a distributed energy supply system.
Mr. Galan, talk to me a little bit about, you've publicly criticized, or Iberdrola has publicly criticized Siemens in one of their joint ventures, right? What action can you actually take?
No, well, I'm not criticizing. I think, you know, we've been investor in the wind sector, in the turbines from the very beginning, among others, because we need turbines. Yep. I think we were a very large investor in that one. We invested on the range of 30 billion euros in the last 15 years. I think there were not enough supply chains for our need. And I think we support already Gamesa, who was already one of our subsidiaries, for doing the necessary, for making this happen to us that happen. And I think we reached a moment that we saw that there's an opportunity to merge in, to make it something bigger. And I think we reached an agreement with Siemens. We was already, one is already more focused in offshore. Gamesa was more focused in onshore. Together fits quite well. I think my concern is that how has been performing the shares. Now we are a shareholder, that's it. So I think the company, we are not any longer managing the company.
But are you worried about management?
We are not very, sorry?
Are you worried about the management and
well,
the
I worry
taken?
about the performance of the company. And I think the performance of the company normally is a consequence of many things. Among others as well is management. But I think the performance of the company is not, has not been good enough. And I think now they are already, I hope they will present a new strategy plan, and I will see that things are changing. But I think our concern as shareholders is the performance has been the worst company in the Spanish IBEX, which I think I'm not very pleased when it was already the best in the past.
But last week, for example, Vestas said that you bought some aerogenerators. Yeah. To them, which is a rival, right, of Siemens Gamesa.
No, I think it's not. That is not new. I think we've been buying turbines for everybody.
So it's not because
I think that was already a noise. I think we have turbines from Vestas, we have turbines from General Electric, we have turbines from Gamesa, we have turbines from Siemens, we have turbines for everybody. I think that the fact these turbines is for a wind farm in the United States, which has been bought 2 years ago. So I think it's something which is not at all related. I think we are separating absolutely our relation as shareholders and our relation as buyers. So I think that is a different department, and I think the financial people is those ones who take care of the financial investment, and those ones to take care of the wind farm, they look for the wind farm. So that's it.
What would you say the state of the Spanish economy is today?
Well, I think if you remember in one of these interviews, when we were in the middle of a crisis, I told you something, then the Spaniards, we are normally we are never warm. We are hot or cold. And I think, and we move rapidly from a crisis situation to the growth situation. And that is exactly what's already happened. I think we have already suffered a terrific crisis. Certain measures, certain changes have been made already in our regulation, and that makes automatically Spain is continue move into growth, which now is beating all the expectation systematically. In terms of job creation, it's huge. I think we are, every year we are increasing in over 500,000 new jobs. Yep. So the unemployment has diminished in the last 3 years almost 10 points, from 25 to almost 15%, which I think is, in the best scenario in Spain of unemployment is 8%, that is the best, so which I think we are close to that one. It's close to 20 million jobs in this moment in the country, which was the target for 2020 of the government. So the things are going very well in all this sense. I think in the export of the countries are booming. Mm-hmm. So I think traditionally Spanish companies were, because of the internal demand was so booming, they were not looking for international market. Now the companies are looking at international market. It's demonstrating they are competitive. So that things is going very well. So
do you worry about politics? I mean, I know you don't have any exposure to Catalonia, but does it have a perception that actually there's a share price discount because politics are considered a little bit messy?
Well, I think a few weeks ago, I was attending just a seminar with, among others, was Gordon Brown. And Gordon Brown was making some statement, which I think it touched to me very much. He said, we are living from the economic crisis worldwide, but we are coming to the political crisis. Political crisis can already have effects in the economy, in employment, in very many things. So, what is the situation, political situation in Spain? I think Spain is a very consolidated democracy. Mm-hmm. I think we've been already living 40 years under dictatorship. We had already had a civil war in which almost 1 million people died. And after the 40 years dictatorship, I think the politicians, all areas, those one has been lost the war, those one has won the war, those one was living inside of the country with the dictator, and those one was living outside of the country, reach an agreement to make a constitution. The constitution has already been our main rules of how to live in the country, how to apply the separation of powers between the justice, between executive, etc., legal one. So, and what is happening is very simple. I think this is making such a way to avoid then the previous situation happen again. So, and which I think this constitution is no different from the constitution of country like Germany or country like United States, which has already suffered civil war as well in the past. So, which I think that is the way. And there are somebody else who has already decided to broken the rules. And that if somebody decides to broken the rule, is that just you have to act. That's it. The rest of the country is performing well. Any side of the country, the thing is performing well. The most important thing is a country cannot live without the clear rules. Mm-hmm. And we have a clear rules, and the rule has been applied. Saying that, I think the economy, for the time being, is not at all affected. It's not something that we enjoy with, but the economy is going well. I think the country is performing well. The growth continued at level over 3% per annum. The last record in terms of jobs created is almost 200,000 in the last month, which I think that's good.
I have two questions, and we're running out of time. I mean, I have about 200 more questions. But first of all, you're interested in M&A, right? You're looking for opportunities. Will you make an offer for energy?
Well, I think, you know ourselves for a long time. I think we are very consistent in our plan. We have a plan up to 2020 in which we have foreseen to invest 25 billion euros and address and allocate it to areas which are very clear. How many to Britain, how many to the United States, how many to Mexico, how many to Brazil, how many to continental Europe. In this plan is not at all contemplating any kind of acquisition. Saying that, I think we are in the world, and I think our people of M&A are already open eyes all the time. We are selling assets in some areas. Last year we make already a merger with all our activities in Brazil. So, and that is part of life. But in our plan in this moment is not to make any important acquisition. Saying that, our people will continue looking whatever thing, and if we should see, but it's not in my table. There are not any paper related to any of those things. I
also want to ask you about the tax bill in the U.S. That actually could be a big plus for you, right?
Well, I think it was. I think the fact because of our the system of deferred taxes we have in the United States, because of the acquisition we make recently. I think we have an impact on the range of 1.2 billion euros, which I think has been in 2017, has been mostly applied for already, that is a non-cash item, and we are using that mostly for non-cash item as well, in such a way that is going not to improve our results in 1.2 billion in the year. So, but I think this has been a good news. One positive thing is in the recurrent basis is going to have an impact on the range of 30-40 million a year as well, which I think that is something positive. You know, most of our business in the United States is regulated, is networks, and whatever improvement in taxes have to be passed through to the consumer, so it's not affected. The only part, the part of renewable is the part which is positively affected. Another part, which is a massive part of our business, is not affected. You know, Avangrid now is the second or the third largest renewable company in the United States. It's a company which is listed in New York. It's a 15 billion market cap, which I think is an important business there.